Hi, my name is Olivia Johnson, and my issue is on climate change. And according to NASA, climate change is categorized by the loss of sea ice, accelerated sea level rise, and longer, more intense heat waves. This is caused by greenhouse gases produced by humans, and over the course of the next century, the temperature on Earth is supposed to rise from 2.5 to 10 degrees. Climate change is increasing the precipitation in the north and is increasing droughts in the south. And due to the warming climate, hurricanes are getting more intense, and sea levels are expected to rise by 1 to 8 feet over the course of the next century. And by the mid-century, the Arctic ice will completely be melted and will be gone. And this is important for everybody to know because it affects everybody. According to NASA, the greenhouse effect is warming that results when the atmosphere traps heat radiating from the Earth towards space. The gases that contribute to this effect are water vapor, nitrous oxide, carbon dioxide, and methane. Carbon dioxide being the most impactful. And according to NASA, humans have increased atmospheric CO2 concentration by 48% since the industrial revolution began. And burning of fossil fuels such as coal and oil has increased the concentration of CO2. So cars and oil rigs and boats and airplanes, all transportation has increased the concentration of CO2, which in turn has increased the greenhouse effect. According to NASA, a panel has concluded that there's better than 95% probability that human-produced greenhouse gases such as carbon dioxide, methane, and nitrous oxide have caused much of the observed increase in Earth's temperature over the past 50 plus years. So that means 95% of global warming is caused by humans and our actions. And it affects everybody living on Earth and will only get worse the more we ignore it. So if we don't take action now, then our kids and our grandkids and our great-grandkids and everybody that comes after us will have it much worse than we currently have it right now. Government is attempting to combat the greenhouse effect. President Biden's goal is to reduce greenhouse gas emissions by 50% by 2030. However, over the last year, the number of offshore oil rigs has doubled, causing a rise in CO2 levels, which is the leading cause of global warming. So while that is the goal, we are far from that goal. The U.S. also left the Paris Agreement in 2017, which is an international treaty which sets out a global framework to limit global warming, and we pulled out of that treaty in 2017. So while there's a lot of goals from the government to combat climate change, there's not a lot of action. In fact, there's a lot of backpedaling. However, government can make some changes. They can offer more federal funding for renewable energy sources to the state. They can combat transportation emissions, just like California did. They just proposed a bill that would prevent any gasoline-ran vehicles to be sold in the state of California by 2035. So if the bill is passed, by 2035, there will be no gasoline-ran vehicles sold in the state of California. So California is making a lot of changes to combat transportation emissions, and government could do the same thing. They can combat the meat industry, which is responsible for 18% of greenhouse gas emissions. And they can instead support local agricultural and local farmers for this meat production. Next, they can promote and utilize green energy such as solar, wind, geothermal energy, and hydropower rather than oil and coal. Finally, all parts of government should act because it starts with them, and if they start, then we will follow and we will look at them as role models and as a guidance. So it all starts with them. President Biden introduced the National Climate Task Force in his first week of office, so we're getting somewhere. All government should act. Republicans, Democrats, Congress, state, every part of government should act because it affects every single person that lives on Earth. Climate change has become a hot button topic with the younger generation. So with millennials and Generation Z, a lot more individuals are taking part in trying to combat climate change. However, according to Yale, only 72% of Americans believe climate change is real, and only 57% believe that it's human caused. 65%, according to Yale, 65% of Americans are worried about global warming, which means the majority of Americans don't believe in global warming. They don't believe it's human caused, and they aren't worried about it. However, according to Yale, many politicians are in support of more funding and the use of more renewable energy, which is progress. President Biden, like I mentioned before, enacted the National Climate Task Force, and their main job is to limit the greenhouse gas emission by 50% by 2030. And as mentioned before, all political parties need to act because it affects everybody on Earth. So Republicans and Democrats alike need to act because climate change doesn't worry about political backgrounds. Climate change affects everybody. So this is not a political issue, it's a people issue. And we all need to come together to slow the climate change down because, again, it affects everybody. According to AmericanProgress.org, over 2/3 of the current officials in Congress do not believe climate change is a serious issue. And the majority of those individuals in office are Republicans. According to PewResearch.org, approximately 78% of Democrats believe climate change should be the government's top priority, while only 21% of Republicans believe that. So there is a definite line between Democrats and Republicans as far as climate change beliefs. But because right now we have a Democrat elected as the president of the United States, we have more of a chance of enacting policies to fight climate change than we did before. So by making our cause known, we can help influence the change we so desperately need. So by making our presidents known and by writing Congress and by making our voices heard, we can affect those individuals in office and start the process to combat climate change. And it starts with us too. It doesn't start with just them, it starts with us. We can make small changes to make big differences. We can start small by making changes to our daily routine, like taking a bike instead of a car or using less one-time use plastic. We can support smaller farms and we can support local farmers and local shops rather than big meat industries. We can use solar or any other type of renewable energy in our homes. And some people even go as far as to become vegan, to boycott the big meat industry. But it all starts with you, and you can do small things to make big differences. We can start writing letters to our elected officials to become more involved politically. And if we have a public platform, we can share this information and encourage others to share and write to our elected officials. We can create a public platform. With the rise in technology and the rise of Instagram and social media, we can create platforms to make our voices heard to get the change that we so desperately need. This is a pressing issue and it will only get worse if not taken seriously, so we need to act now.